I want you guys to just introduce yourselves and then please tell us what toy blew your mind as a kid when you're done with your introduction. Let's start with Ashley Mady from Basic Fun.
Ooh, okay. I am Ashley Mady. I head up brand development at Basic Fun, which really means I do a lot of different things, everything from conceptualizing new brands to focusing on all of our marketing services and content creation. In terms of a toy that blew my mind as a kid, I was a super weird kid, collected monkeys, stuffed animals, and I don't even know what it was called. I had some little tablet that let me animate things on a real TV screen. And that probably blew my mind as a kid. I don't even know the brand, clearly.
Oh, that sounds so cool.
Clearly I was not in branding then. I wasn't paying attention.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Next, Stefanie, tell us about yourself, introduce yourself, and what toy blew your mind as a kid.
Hi, everybody. I'm Stefanie Barone. I'm the VP of Design at Jazwares. So we do everything from concept to fruition, going right through the development process. I also help spearhead our Blue Sky team called Blue Jay, which we interface with inventors and up and coming products. And then as far as blowing my mind, I was a little bit of a weird kid too. I was super creative and, you know, I had an affinity for teddy bears where Ashley had an affinity for monkeys. I had one particular teddy bear who is still with me today. He's very old. But I would say Light Bright or any construction, my Easy Bake Oven, I loved. So anything that I could like get my hands in and make, create, I think that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm a maker. So welcome, everybody.
Same page. And Tanya, last but not least, welcome, introduce yourself and tell us what toy blew your mind as a kid.
Yeah, hi everybody. So happy to be here, especially with these amazing women on the panel. So I am Director of Inventor Relations for Hasbro Gaming. So basically that means any game that's coming in that we do that isn't already in-house will come through me. And I take in all the ideas. I'm like the gateway or the first filter, and then I pitch it inwards to the games team. So I'm a big, huge gamer. So this is like my dream job. I absolutely love it. And I love the inventor community, creatives and whatnot. Sounds like, you know, Ashley and Stefanie, you are probably one of the, you say you're so creative, like you probably are the same, like this inventor community is incredible. Meeting with creatives is like something that brings me a lot of joy. In terms of, yeah, so when I was a kid, I really wanted a baby alive because I was like obsessed with babies. Got baby alive, pooped and peed all over the place. So my mom was like, forget this. So she took it back to the store and instead I got a little professor. And the little professor is a little calculator that gives you math questions that you answer in rapid succession.
That is not the same thing.
But I loved it. I loved the little professor, went on actually to get a math degree. Don't know if that has anything to do with the little professor, but yeah, I'll never forget that my baby alive went away and in replace I got little professor.
That is a cool story. Okay, Tanya. Well, my first question is going to be for you. We're going to ask you the question everyone wants to know. What is the best piece of advice you would give to inventors who want to pitch to Hasbro? Just first thing that comes to your mind.
Yeah, so two things come to mind. One more general, one more specific. So one more general in pitching anybody, but definitely including ourselves, is know who you're pitching to. So do your research, go to their social media platforms, find out what their recent, releases are, go to retail if you can, and you're not in lockdown like I am here, but go into retail, check out what their offerings are at a retail space. If they're in mass market, if they're in smaller neighborhood stores, like all of that, you really need to know kind of who, if you're pitching to me and you don't really know what my brands are and who I am, it just always like puts me off a little bit. Now Hasbro's big, so if you don't know that we do like, you know, easy bake oven, that's okay. I'm not saying you need to be like completely, you know, knowledgeable, but at the same time, you really do need to know if you're pitching me a game, kind of who am I? What is this my company represent? What is my mission statement? That kind of thing, because that really matters. And then second of all, and specifically is have a great sizzle video. And I know we're going to talk about that later, so I won't go into detail now, but especially now more than ever, a sizzle video could make or break you getting in or not.
I have a follow-up to your part one, but I'm gonna push the follow-up to Ashley. I'm sure all of you have that same desire for people to know your company a little bit, know what you want before they pitch to you. So for an inventor, for somebody who's separate from the toy industry, they're going to the stores, they're learning about your brand. How do they really know what you're looking for? Because what if they go to the store, they see a whole wall of like baby dolls, but maybe your company's at the point where you're like, actually, we did baby dolls, we didn't make enough money and we're shifting. How are they going to know that? Does your company offer like wish lists? Like, how do they find out more about what you want now, Ashley?
That's a great question. And we don't offer formal wish lists. I think unlike a Hasbro, we're not big enough yet to have a full inventor relations team. So generally, if an inventor were to message us and ask what we're looking for, we'll put a very short list together, or top categories where we want to innovate or something that we want to break into. So our lists aren't formal, but certainly it's a great question to ask. And sometimes we could say, you know what, we're not looking for activity, or we're not looking for outdoor toys. We'll still take a look, but at least it sets the inventor up to understand that it's very unlikely that it's going to find a home within our company.
I think what you just said is something that people weren't expecting, that they could just ask. So I think that's a great takeaway.
Yeah,
thanks.
Absolutely.
And okay, Stefanie, how do people reach you with ideas now that aren't since we don't have the in-person trade shows? What happens now for you?
Well, so at Jazwares, we implemented our own Blue Sky team. So it's our own inventor relations group, and everything is filtered through them. You could go to our website and you can make an inquiry there, or a submission, and then it gets filtered through the team. And just like Tanya said, that our inventor relations person, David, it's his the first filter. And then it trickles down and it gets to the executive team, which is myself and one of the partners at the company. And then we vet it that way. But I get emails too all the time. They find me on LinkedIn and they email me and they say, I have a great idea. Usually it's good when you get a little synopsis of what that idea is, what their invention is in the email. So if you're going to like email, cold email, put a little synopsis, like it's this kind of toy, it's in this category. I would love to, something to get my juices flowing. Because if it is in our categories that we're looking for, then I will reach out and maybe pass it on to the inventor relations team as well. So there's a couple of different ways of going about it.
So this is the point I want to clarify for people though. When you say give a synopsis, you don't mean like give a synopsis of your IP.
No, but sort of like I have a brilliant baby doll idea, or I have a game, or I have an outdoor toy that hasn't been done before, like something to tantalize us.
Yeah. I have definitely reached out and said, hey, I've got the next big insert competitor item here. And they're like, oh, do you? Okay. That's great. Okay. So
can I comment a couple? So one is Stefanie, I love David. You guys got a real gem there. He is incredible.
I second that.
Yeah. We're all big fans of David Winter. Yeah,
so, we're lucky. We're very lucky.
Yeah, he's incredible. So one thing, I love how you clarified that about because we have people that reach out in email. Legally, we can't take email submissions, not even from our closest inventor inventor connections. So, but since there's a team of us, like I do games, other people do toy, and depending on the brand and what toy brand, kind of, I like how you said, like, you can say, I've got a great game, or I've got a great baby doll. Like, that's really great advice, because then we can make sure you are filtered to the right person. So I think that's really good. We have Hasbro, because of our size, we also, it's sometimes hard to get to inventor relations, because I'm like literally one person servicing the whole company. So we have to really manage our time, but we do actually have a portal called Spark. So if you go to spark.hasbro.com, people can just submit ideas. And if it's a game, it will filter through me as well. So that's another thing. And wish lists, we do have wish lists, as Ashley mentioned. But you know what, like, I need you to know the background in order, because we've got to build a partnership and a relationship. So I need you to know that you care who you're pitching to. I'm not just a cold call, and that you know something about me. I'm not saying you need to know everything, but background is important, but you can't predict the future. Like how you said, Azhelle, you can't know, like, we're dropping something, or we're picking a category up, or whatever. We may not have any construction toys, but maybe they're coming out around the corner. You don't really know, or we're not doing Euro strategy games, but maybe they're coming out around the corner. You won't know that. You'll know that through developing a relationship. So it's like one of those things, but you should at least know our past, and then we're going to work together in order for you to kind of understand, or maybe get glimpses of our future. But I agree that and even the wish list, like Hasbro, we change like directions so many times. My wish list is outdated after 3 to 4 months kind of thing. So it's always, I think that if you can get a relationship going, otherwise you're kind of doing stabs in the dark, which there's nothing wrong with that either. Because if you've got a great idea, I don't care if I've known you for 20 years, if I've known you for 20 minutes, it doesn't matter. It's about your concept that is really king.
Tanya, you just sparked an idea, a question. No, no, I have a question. When people submit, so say you've changed directions and you're not looking for baby dolls, and they submitted something, maybe it got rejected, or maybe it's just sitting there, but then direction changes again, and you're like, oh shit, we're looking for baby dolls right now. So in that case, would somebody resubmit, or would you just email and say, hey, I submitted this a while ago, and because the times are changing, I have a feeling that now you're going to be interested. I want to remind you to just go check it out. Like, how would you navigate that?
Yeah, we don't mind reshows. You just have to be like, if we're like, sorry, like for instance, in the gaming space, Queen's Gambit caused chess to like just soar. Hasbro, we haven't been interested in chess. So Are we now, kind of thing? You don't know that, but you submitted me some sort of a chess variant game. You can reach out and say, hey, I saw this trend. Is this, now, is this now appealing to you or not? And then I can answer you, and FYI, it's not, but you never know. But those kinds of things. Jigsaw puzzles in the toy space is another one that just soared in 2020. Hasbro isn't playing in that space. So are we? I can tell you there's been a lot of discussion, but we haven't pulled the trigger. So it's like, it's you never know, but all you can do is ask.
Okay, thank you.
And reshows are completely fine.
Reshows are fine. Everybody loves reshows. That's good to know.
Or reshow with a tweak. Like,
yes.
Oh, I showed this, but now I think it applies to this license. Or I think that's a great way to come back. Not just, oh, I'm showing you the exact same thing again, or I'm showing you something, I took your input and I applied it, or this now applies to something you're working on, is, I think, an added layer that shows that you're going to evolve and work with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Love that. Someone sent in a question and asked, does the product have to be patented before we submit it to you?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
Yes. And okay, now I want to dive in a little bit to Sizzles. Tanya, you talked about Sizzles. You guys all alluded to them. Is the Sizzle, okay, first let's define what a Sizzle video is. Show of hands, who wants to take that on? Tanya says yes. Go, Tanya. Oh, you're muted. Okay.
No, I'm fine if Ashley or Stefanie want to take it on either. I'm sure we all have opinions on it. So
you go, Tanya. Go for it.
Go, Tanya.
Go, Tanya. Go, Tanya.
So well, and you guys may have comments too in terms of like a toy, because there's toy specific sizzles and there's game specific sizzles. So I'll speak briefly to game specific sizzles. For me, a sizzle video, it matters about the length. Basically, if I like your idea, I then become you, and I've got to convince and find a champion internally with a games team internally that will be interested and want to take on further exploration of your idea. So I do a pitch just like you do a pitch to me often to the different teams, the game team, all the games teams. And so when I'm pitching to them, the best way for me to get your idea across to them is through a video that you created yourself, because you are the best champion, the best person to represent your idea, the ins and outs of it. So I use your videos, extremely important, especially like Hasbro. We've been working from home for a year now, and we are not going back anytime soon. So virtually, we're all working from home, all working virtually. So video was already important, but now it's even more so. So because we'll only bring in a prototype if there's serious interest, because that requires a lot of shipping and commitment, because there's no central office at the moment. So then the sizzle video for me, basically it's less than 2 minutes. So your elevator pitch, I should walk away knowing how to play your game, not the very in the weeds, super detail, but I need to know, because I'm comparing it against other games that I see. I need to know what your game is about. I need to know its best features, like what makes it different. What's the hook? Like, why is yours like incredible? So I need to know the best features, how to play. And then I really love when you bring a lot of energy to it. I love passion on the other side of the table. So just like, and I look at these videos a lot. So, you know, for yours to stand out, like really show me your energy and your passion around it. Be goofy, be whatever, be you. But like, put some like energy and passion into it, I would say is important as well. Some people are like, do you have examples? I feel like I need to create one, but they're so IP sensitive, I don't have one. But I'll often refer people to Kickstarter, because Kickstarter is a platform where almost every campaign will have a video that they've created. So kind of take a look through Kickstarter in the category that you're pitching in, and see, there's not every Kickstarter video is going to be good, but it's good to kind of go there, because they're doing the same thing. They're trying to sell to the consumer their idea.
Yes.
I think one other thing, if you think of your sizzle as being your commercial, and what commercial is going to work to sell everyone internally to buy into your idea, but ultimately what's going to resonate with the consumer? Is your sizzle something that is going to inspire the future commercial, is going to work on social media? I think we're just looking, and I'm looking from because I manage all of our digital marketing and PR, like I'm looking through a different lens. Like it better translate into content. It better, you know, have a way to be demonstrative, to tell a story. So if you can jam pack that into a sizzle, you're actually making our internal teams work a lot easier. So sometimes we see stuff and it's just a mechanism, a concept, how it works. Internally, we have to do a lot of thinking, a lot of problem solving. The further you take your concept, if it's in the right direction, the easier it is to create a springboard for us to get a running start. And I would say when you have a video, it really, really helps.
And I'm just going to add on to that, Ashley, because I too watch a lot of videos. And if you got to get that point across and like basically like, you know, scream it in our faces and like concise, yeah, like think of it, yeah, like a jingle, right? Like it's going to be bold and very straightforward, very concise, and not saying that you can't make a 10-minute sizzle, but you know, if you can do a minute to, you know, depending on what you're pitching, but something short and concise, and that you get it immediately, and that you feel the energy, you see the wow, the pizzazz, the, you know, I love this item, like you want that reaction. So be a showman, you know, right. but direct messaging too.
I agree. And show us what it's going to look like on shelf, what it's going to look like you know, online and make that obvious connection. Because on shelf, you only get a couple seconds to make a decision if you like the product. So what are the top 3 messages? Make sure you deliver that punch, even if you want to deliver a 10-minute video, because you need all that detail to really go into the specifics of how something's made. Give us the punch in the first 30 to 60 seconds.
Yep. And I always tell my design team too. So we do everything from girls' toys, boys' toys, activities, all across, you know, preschool. And I always tell the team, when you're coming up with a new concept, itemize what your features are. Like, what's the most important messaging of your playset or your vehicle or whatever the project is, and list them in a list of importance. Your top is number 1. What are you trying to get across? So think of your sizzle like that too. Like, give yourself a checklist. Like, this is about this. Those are the 3 main points. And then here are lesser points but I still want to get across.
You guys mentioned a bunch of different like presentation materials or information to put in the presentation. I'm curious, I'm assuming when you first see a new pitch, you're looking at the video first, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then after you look at the video, say it's a quick sizzle, what are you going to next? Is it a one sheet? Is it a PowerPoint? Is it just the email body for more information? Where are you going?
I think it depends on what we want to learn. So if we watch a sizzle and we're enticed, then yeah, we're going to go into a deep dive. Let's say we want to know more about the material, or we might have questions at that point. We need to hop on a call. So I think the video really unlocks if we want to view any further. If there's a video, we're almost always going to look at that first.
And I know that this might come up a little later, but I think proving out your concept, proving out your idea, proof of product, right? So that basically means what you're saying in your sizzle is feasible, right? So if it's a feature for a doll or action figure or a play set, can it be actually from concept, can it actually come to fruition? Can it be manifest 3-dimensionally, and does it work? Right. So I know that there's lots of savvy tech video people out there, but if you can prove out your proof of concept, then that's like the next step. Like for me, I'm a product person, so I'm going to ask, can I see it? Can I see that sample? I want to play with that. I want to touch it. How is this working? Is it going to be manufacturable?
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead.
Oh, I was just, sorry, Ashley, were you gonna?
You go first.
I was going to say that in terms of the next steps, like I don't usually evaluate products on a video, solely a video. So legally, when people pitch me, they're pitching me an in-person or video conference. So I'm representing to Hasbro what I understand, and you are there for me to ask questions for. So I actually, one sheet isn't as important. It used to be when I worked for smaller companies, because I'd be at a show and I'd be like, I need your one sheet so I remember. But we have a platform that we've built that tracks all of our submissions. So I know where to go to find it. So I'm looking for your video, I'm looking for your game rules, and maybe a great spill shot and a photo kind of thing, which helps me pitch it in. But I don't, at that point, I'm not, that's what I really need. And then the other thing I was going to say is you don't need to spend a lot of money to get a professionally done sizzle video. Like iPhone point and shoot kind of thing, or smartphone point and shoot, and you kind of talking through your idea is enough for us. I know, Ashley, you have like kind of a marketing background, so that is important. For me, when I'm looking at a game, it's not so important. I need to know it's demonstrable. I need to know what the TV moment is 100%, but I don't need your sizzle video to do that. But if you can speak to it, or if you can make it happen, that's obviously great. But we're not looking for professionally done videos at all, because it's really going to be about the idea.
And I think that's a great point. And also about playing to your strengths. depending on what type of inventor you are, right? Maybe you are the mechanism person. Maybe you are the game creator person. Maybe you're the brand person that can wrap everything together. And so one, pitching your product, two, pitching who you are and why you can add value to the project if you believe you can. And I think that can be included in the video, and it's going to come through. And let's say you have something, you're not a marketer, like lay out, I'm presenting a mechanism concept that, you know, can work within your brands. I think, you know, setting up that you acknowledge that I made this piece of plush, but you guys can make it much more beautiful. This isn't about what it looks like, it's about what it does. So that's what I want you to focus on. Giving that setup, I think, helps us focus on what you're really pitching.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Let's talk proof of concept. Stefanie brought up, y'all are touching on it right now. What does that really mean?
So I'll dig in first because being on the product side. So if it was a baby doll or a mechanism of some sort, a feature, then you would want to breadboard it. You would want to make a prototype. You know, again, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can use what you have in your house to kit, we call it kit bashing it together to make it work. So be creative, you know, you all are creative. That's why you're here. So, you know, just put on your little maker hat and figure out how I can get what I've conceptualized, how can I actually make it? There are other resources too. There are model shops domestically that you can reach out to for if it was maybe a little more technical or you needed a little engineering. And honestly, it's a small investment to bring your prototype to the next level. And I think that's wise too, especially if, you know, if it's something that needs some engineering to get that outside help. Yeah.
A follow-up to this, and all of you can answer this. If somebody's developing something and they have a really great concept and they have like kit bash something together, but it's not manufacturer ready, would you be interested in seeing the pitch and then so that they know you think this might be something, maybe you should invest in continuing that development?
So I'm going to jump in again because honestly, anything that we build stateside, it's not necessarily manufactured ready anyway, because we always send it overseas to work out with our Asia offices and the factories, and they re-engineer it. The proof of concept is really, can it actually work? If you can get it to work on your kitchen table or in your workshop or wherever you're building it, then we'll use our engineering staff to get it to that level that it can be manufactured and mass produced, because it's all about efficiency. Just proving out you can get it to do what you're saying it's going to do is a step in the right direction.
Love that.
I agree with Steph. It doesn't have to be fully fleshed out. The other thing though is the inventor community is extremely collaborative. So you don't have to be a lone inventor. If you have an idea, like when I was out inventing on my own, I'm not an engineer or mechanism person, but you can find those people and see if they want to partner with you on a project. And I think oftentimes there's a ton of openness to go into something together. So if you want to limit your investment by having a partner, there's pros and cons that come with that. It could help. I mean, same with other agents too, that can help you get in the door and craft your pitch. I think every inventor is different and can take a different path.
Yeah.
I was going to add that for us, because you're pitching on a sizzle video, it's not unheard of, or you'd want to be upfront about it, but oftentimes we'll have a video that's been what we call faked out. So it shows what you want to happen, but the mechanism isn't necessarily doing it itself. There's a lot of reason for that. Like Bop It, if you've ever seen the original pitch video for Bop It, it was literally foam core. But it is sometimes those electronics it's about the idea, not about the actual thing working. But I will tell you that if you get past the sizzle video, I show it, and then the team's interested, the very next step is they're going to ask for a workable, playable prototype. So it's this, and it depends on team by team, but I'm finding this team in particular, because they have so much going on their own plates, right? And to explore your idea, to build it out, unless they're like extremely excited about it, if they're all on the fence, they're at all on the fence, then they'll be, if they know it's like, if they know you and they know you can deliver on the product, absolutely, they'll ask for the next step. But if they don't know you, or they're like, oh, can they deliver this? They will give you the chance to actually deliver on it. But it's not like they want to, you know, connect with HFE or engineers and then work on your idea to get it to a point where it becomes workable and playable, because it's not typically how we work. But if it's the next best thing that's really different, then there could be exceptions to that. But I'm saying as a whole, you definitely need a proof of concept in order for us to like take it in, and because we're going to test it as the next step to see kind of what how consumers react in our lab. So that's an important next step, and it's really easier for us if we can go right to that versus having to fully flesh out something. And it doesn't have to be, I'm not talking about like factory ready. I'm talking about like things that, like what Stefanie's talking about, like at least it's going to function as best as it can. That's probably the most important.
Thanks, guys. That was great. I want to talk about digital prototypes. I'm hoping you can help smash something for me right now. I've had inventors want to pitch with a digital prototype instead of a real prototype. What do you think of when you hear digital prototype, Stefanie?
Well, I'm a little on the fence about it, because I feel like if you could prove it out digitally, you probably could build it.
Yeah.
We do that internally a lot. I have some 3D designers on staff, and they do proof of concept digitally, and then we send it off to the printer and we get a physical sample of it, and then we can tweak it more, right? So I think it's a good stepping stone. So but if you're doing something that's really outlandish and it's we'll just say smoke and mirrors, then it's kind of defeating the purpose.
Yeah.
Ashley? Oh, Tanya, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm disagreeing with Stefanie. Like, absolutely. Like, if it's a card game, okay, and you've got it on Tabletopia or Tabletop Simulator, fine. Right. But I'm hoping you've got the prototype to back it up. But if it's some toy mech that is doing something we've never seen before, you need to be able to deliver on that.
Yeah.
So we don't want a digital prototype. In fact, I've seen sometimes these digital pitches that promise something extremely amazing physically, and it's not really, you need to actually have something physical that you're videoing to prove it. Like if it's really doing something completely new and magical, we need to be able to see it. We don't want to see a rendering or a digital video of it kind of thing.
And I think that depends on what it is. So if it's a complex mechanism, that really needs proof of concept, then yeah, it needs to move into physical form. But if it's something that's more of a trend and a simple get, very obvious that you would be able to make it, and it's more for theming, you may not need a physical prototype. It just, whatever you send needs to get the message across, and it needs to make sure that we as manufacturers know with 100% confidence that we can make this thing. And if it's a very abstract thing that's breaking the molds of what's being done in our industry, then you may have to help us a little bit more.
Okay, I have one more question before our lightning round. The last question is, what's the benefit of the virtual pitch process through COVID-19? Have you seen any positive effects of the fact that everyone's gone virtual? Like, what's changed for you guys?
Not that much. A little.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Yeah, it's disappointing that we can't all be together, but I don't think we've lost it. Like we haven't skipped a beat. If anything, I feel like we're looking at more, we're busier, right? I think that being home and, you know, isolated or quarantined or, you know, in your pod, you have more spare time on your hands. So there's more, people are doing more.
Tanya?
Yeah, where nobody needs to travel. I could see somebody from, you know, Israel at 9 o'clock and somebody from Ohio at 10. Like it doesn't, it kind of breaks down any kind of barriers, especially if the inventor had a hard time getting to us physically in the first place, right? To a toy fair or whatever. So that, and where we used to do big kind of catchments around like, okay, toy fair season and disc toy and, you know, all the Dallas and et cetera, et cetera. It's, I don't know if it's going to completely flatten out, but there's still those ebbs and flows. But you know, if you've got an idea and you were going to wait until toy fair to show me, now you don't need to, because there is no toy fair at the moment. So so if you want to show me like disc toy, let's say, is in May, but you're ready in April, show me in April. Like it's all it requires is for you and I to have a conference call. So
yes. All right, we're gonna wrap with a fun lightning round, and I think we'll have time for Q&A. So I have a fun lightning round I came up with called email do's and don'ts. Okay, so since more and more people are reaching out via email now more than ever, some people are doing it right and some people are doing it wrong. So I took a couple of things that have happened to me in my own inbox, and I'm gonna say them, and then I want all of you guys to just yell out do or don't. Okay? Are you ready? Okay. Okay. Number one, email number one. Is this a do or a don't? All caps in the subject line.
Don't. Obnoxious. Don't do that.
Yeah. Never use all caps.
That's not going to make you open
it more? As a general rule. Yeah, no.
It's going to scare me.
Yeah.
2, pitching your toy idea right in the email body. Get it right in there.
Don't.
No.
Why not? But I thought if you see it, no? Okay. Number 3.
Tease us, entice us.
Yeah. Don't go into detail. Legally, we can't. We won't even look at it. We won't even we'll pass it on to unsolicited submissions or something. We need an NDA for, and I know that was in the question. So anyway, don't do that.
Yeah.
Number 3, sending an introduction email for an invitation to pitch.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Number 4, sending your sizzle video unsolicited.
No.
All has been done to me. 5, asking if a toy company works with inventors.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Questions are good.
Okay. 6, using the phrase, I have the next monopoly in your email.
Go for it if you do.
Tanya's like, no, I totally pulled this from an interview with Tanya. I intentionally pulled this from an interview with Tanya. But
no, like to say I have the next Rubik's Cube, I have the next Monopoly. It just, every time that happens is from somebody who's like solely green. Like they just really don't know. And it's like an indication. They don't. I mean, even if you pitched me Monopoly today, I wouldn't take it. Like the Monopoly was like so a long time ago. Like, you know, it's a brand. That's what I think
is the difference, right? Yeah, the difference is not like if they told you about something you had last season that was a huge hit, and they're like, oh, I think I have the next version of that last season thing. But Monopoly is like that was so we're in a different world now.
Yeah, you're indicating like such big success. Like, yeah, I'm like, hey, I got something that's similar to Hatchimals or something that's more recent. Okay, there's that. But like to have the next Monopoly game, I think what you're indicating, because I don't want the next Monopoly game, but like I think what you're indicating is I have a multi-million-dollar idea right here. Well, like, okay, maybe, but like that's a little bit kind of, I don't know what the word is, but I know to say that.
Number 7, the last one, redesigning a pitch deck for whoever you're emailing.
If you have the time, yes.
Okay. That was my last email, do or don't. Thank you for participating in this lightning round. We can open it up to just general questions if you guys have a little bit of time to hang out or whatever Karen wants to do.
We can do, there's some questions that have not been answered from the chat.
Let's do it.
And one of them, yeah, I've been texting.
I got it.
Yeah. There's a couple of the NDA one, and so go for it.
Okay. Question number 1. Can inventors, ooh, this is good. Okay. Can inventors propose their own NDA, or does each company have their own for them to sign?
Each
It's a
company
good question.
has their own.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's basically because we're not lawyers. Like, I represent Hasbro as inventor relations, but I'm not a lawyer. So for me to sign anything from you means it needs to be checked legally, because that's a legal document. And I don't have the skills. I'm not a lawyer. I can't do that, nor would Hasbro ever let me. So yeah, you have to sign our NDA. We will not sign anybody else's.
Next question. How involved is the creator of an idea if the idea is picked up by the company?
It all depends on what the creator has to offer. We, Jazwares, Wicked Cool Toys, we signed an inventor, first time inventing an item. And she had a working prototype. We kept her very heavily involved. She still is. This is going on our 2.5 year with her. And yeah, but it all depends on what the item is and how the inventor wants to, how much they want to be involved. I have other inventor groups and individuals that, well, yep, I sold this in, great. There you go, on to the next deal or on to my next project. So it all depends.
Ashley, I feel like you want to add.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's different for every inventor. It's, can you add value? Are you interested? And then do you make the process better? If you're adding value in the right way, you do. But if you're more of a distraction, then you may be better suited just working a bit more from the periphery and letting the toy company rock and roll.
At what point would you say in the whole process would it be the right time for an inventor to say, hey, I'd love to be involved to do XYZ if you'd have me? Where do they even start that combo? I
think at the beginning, when you're selling your idea, you should know the company should know your expected level of involvement, and that discussion should be had out in the open so that both parties understand what they're getting into. This is a long-term relationship, hopefully a very long-term relationship.
Agreed. It should be upfront. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Tanya,
really,
can you answer? Oh, yeah, I was going to make you answer.
Yeah, and you have to understand what we're looking for are partnerships and relationships, but there has to be a level of trust there. So like sometimes the inventor, and I agree 100% what was said before, like depending on you, sometimes we want your skills because you're a coder or a programmer or an engineer or whatever, or the best thing for your idea. So we want you to be involved with the development. But sometimes we might go off in a different direction. We have our own ideas. You're talking about like internal teams of professional developers that know the brand that they want to bring to the shelf. So there has to be some level of trust there. So I wouldn't say that, I would say that it does depend on the idea, but don't be offended if at some point they're like, okay, we got it, we're going our own way. Because you don't want to be so high maintenance that people are like, oh, that's really hard to work with them, so we'll go somewhere else kind of thing. So
do you guys feel like inventors need to have agents to pitch to you?
No.
I'm not answering this question, but I am mentioning I have to drop off a meeting.
Oh, right, yes.
Smart calls, so I'm going to go tend to that.
Bye, Ashley.
Bye, Ashley.
Thank you so much for being here.
Bye.
Bye. Yes. What was my question? Do they need agents?
No.
They don't need agents, but sometimes if you're completely new, it depends on kind of how you get to us. And one way to pitch to Hasbro is through our list of agents. So agents aren't a bad thing. They're not necessary, but sometimes they are if you're like, I just can't seem to get in, like in on their, you know, whatever on their list.
Okay, great. Any other questions? I feel like there's someone coming in the chat. Let me just pop up the chat. Oof. There's a lot happening here. There's a lot happening here. No?
Yeah, we have, there is one more that just came in, and it's how many inventors reach out to you in a year?
Oh, yes. Good one.
So how many inventor concepts do you see in a typical year or a typical month?
Yeah, well, I for game, like, I think it's a couple of thousand of concepts in a year. Like, I'm constantly in meetings, in pitch meetings. So I don't know what David does at Jazwares, but
yeah, we have like almost every other day meetings with the inventor relations group and the Blue Sky team. So just looking at new concepts, we're constantly looking at new ideas. So it's on a daily basis. So yeah, I'm going to agree with you. It's probably thousands of concepts we look at a year.
So with that number, I'm sure people are wondering, like, how can I stand out? So thinking back to some of the pitches that really stuck out in your mind, maybe you still remember to this day that are a long time ago. What was it about them that stood out? Was it the pitch materials? Was it the inventor themselves, or the idea?
For me, definitely the idea.
Yeah, the idea is what is most important. But there are some good, it does come down to the idea. If we're going to move forward with it and go to contract, it's gonna be the idea itself. But at the same time, some inventors are better at doing videos than others as well. Like, it's like, oh yeah, that video is really just feels fresh. It's not like unless the concept warrants it. Like, they're not pulling out like the oldies for the music and things like that. It kind of actually feels very current kind of thing. So, and there's nothing wrong with the oldies if that is what your concept is about, or it's like words that you're using. But yeah. And music, I'm not saying music is super important either. You don't really need it. But I think depends. I've been on panels where some people like, don't do it because I can't hear you talk. Yeah, if you've got important information, don't have the music drown it out. But at the same time, music can bring a lot of energy to a video.
Yep.
Especially if you're seeing like 3,000 pitches, you want some like a good dance party every once in a while you're watching a pitch. No, that's great. Another question I get a lot is, how important is it to develop kind of the game visuals or the toy visuals, like the theme around it, before pitching it to you?
It all depends on what you're pitching, right? So if it's something that content is very important, then you want to develop it. You want to show your entire vision. It could be something simpler, like a mechanism that could fit into a play set or a preschool item or a girl's toy or an activity that the creative team is going to take it and digest it and either put it towards a licensed brand that they see that this could fit into, or develop a brand on its own where then the content would be, it's not just the item, the concept, but it's also the content around it that you're pitching. So it all depends on what it is.
Oh, this is great. I feel like this was packed with a lot of good info, right?
Yeah, I was going to say about theme too. I've seen themes make or break an idea as well. Like, if your theme is inspiring and the team's like, oh my gosh, yes. Like, so it's almost, and it depends on what you're going for. But if you're presenting, let's say somebody's looking for something, we're looking for something really current and hip and cool, and you present, Picasso, or you present graffiti street art. Like, there's just something more hip about street art than about museum art. And a theme, if you're presenting like a dishwasher as a mechanism, like a cute dishwasher game, or you're presenting something like a car wash or something fun about that, but they're the same thing. The theme can make or break it, like, because sometimes we're looking for an aspirational theme, something that is going to attract attention on the shelf and is going to be relevant to the consumer today, versus like, especially us, and Stefanie too, like we're seeing a lot of ideas. We're not picking, like in a year, there's only a handful that are going to actually make it. So yours actually has to stand out. So the theme is important. I'm not saying it will necessarily, like if we see something in your idea and we pivot and make it a different theme, that could happen. But if they look at your idea and they're like, they're not inspired, then they're going to pass on it.
Thank you. That's great. I'm really glad to have you guys here today. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I am really enjoying all the insights. I feel like we should have like one big takeaway question. Why don't you just give like your final takeaway piece of advice, I guess, independently, that you would tell aspiring, maybe new inventors or that are coming into the toy space? Steph, will you start?
Sure. I would say be passionate, right? So if you don't believe 100% that you got the next best thing, like nobody else is going to either, you have to, really own yourself, know what you're doing, and just embrace it all. And then it's going to shine through, right? So, and do what you love. Do what you love. If you like dolls, do stuff for dolls. If you like action figures, do action figures, right? Do what you love. It's going to show through.
Yes. Tanya?
Yeah, that's great advice. So I love be passionate. I will also say, if you like, I would say practice. Like, you've got a great idea. Let's say you've gotten past that. You've got a great idea. You've got all your ducks in a row, and then you get a meeting with a company. Like, really kind of manage your time in that meeting. Because if I have a hard stop and we talk for the first 20 minutes and then suddenly you're squishing in your idea for 10, like, you really have to manage your time. I don't know if you're necessarily showing one concept or 6 kind of thing. So I really need you to manage your time that we have on the calendar, and then practice. Like, don't come in and kind of fumble your way through, or like, oh, I forget what happens there. It's been so long since I pitched that. Like, those are never really great signs. So make sure you really kind of practice well practice with friends, practice in front of the mirror. Doesn't matter, but just really make sure you've got your pitch down pat. And I know I've written some like top 10 pitch things, don't give me the whole background, all your failures to get to this point. I mean, I care about it, but I really care about your concept. And that is really what's most important. And if I really like your concept, then I'll be more than happy to understand the background and all the adventures you had getting it there, but don't lead with that kind of thing. So stack the deck, stack the dice, make it happen in your pitch. As you're pitching, like, don't like roll and then go, oh, the really great thing, it's coming. Like, I don't care, roll the dice and then flip them where you want them to go and say, now look, this is what happens. Or, stack the deck so that you are showing the best parts of your game are going to come up immediately in the pitch. So
thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks everybody for being here. This was awesome.
Yeah, and thank you, Azhelle. You did such a great job making this fun and exciting for all of us. And Tanya and Steph and Ashley, even though she's not here, shared so much useful information that I know everyone really appreciates. We're so happy to have done this. This was amazing. So thank you.